Hi, sports enthusiasts. It's a sad time to talk about Floyd Mayweather Jr. and what's going on. Not sad for what he might have or might not have done. I'm not here to judge him on that. That's for the courts to decide. As sports enthusiasts, it kind of upsets me to see all these people just gleefully coming down on him. Gleefully, he even says it in some of the newscasts. Joyfully, we've awaited for Floyd Mayweather Jr. to be taken down. Now, some have stuck by him. Some sports commentators have stuck by him, and I valued loyalty much. But I see some of his entourage betraying him, saying Floyd Mayweather's pretending to be something he's not. Floyd Mayweather's pretending to have money when he doesn't. What is it to you? What do you care just because you didn't get your piece of pie that you wanted? No. If Floyd Mayweather wasn't paying employees, wasn't paying promoters, was taking your girlfriend, yeah, you should be happy that he's getting in trouble. But all this stuff has nothing really, most of it has nothing to do with you as a sports enthusiast or boxer. Seems like to me a lot of times it's greedy green monsters that can no longer use Floyd Mayweather to line their pockets. Not all cases, but some. And that's heartbreaking, I'm sure, for Floyd Mayweather. Because a lot of people aren't talking about how he takes care of his family, how he pays for his grandkids, his baby mamas, his kids. And he deserves that lifestyle. He won that lifestyle. And for people to be out there obese, shallow, calling him dumb and retarded because he has a reading disability, shame on you. Now, if he screwed you out boxing, some way legally by boxing, I would understand the outpour. Right now, it just seems like people are just coming down on him just to bring a man down that made it. I'm not saying he's innocent. I'm just saying, are we really concerned with the things he's accused of as sports enthusiasts? Does it really affect us in sports? Just food for thought. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Please subscribe or comment. Otherwise, these YouTube videos go into obscurity and hiding. Thank you, folks. Have an awesome Boxing Day.
Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a genuinely wild, multi-front legal and financial battle. And it surrounds a guy who literally branded himself as money. Yep, former undefeated boxing champ Floyd Mayweather Jr. We are looking at a completely staggering situation here. Federal tax liens, multi-million-dollar asset seizures, and honestly, the very real threat of prison time. It's a massively tangled web of allegations, so we're going to unpack exactly what the court documents are actually telling us. To make sense of all this chaos, we're going to break it down round by round. First up, the fall of money. Then we'll look at the felony charges in Las Vegas, followed by civil lawsuits and asset seizures. After that, we'll cover IRS liens and mounting debt. And finally, wrap up with Mayweather's massive counterstrikes. All right, part one, the fall of money, reality versus reputation. Look, inside the ring, Floyd Mayweather Jr. was, well, practically untouchable, right? He boasted this perfect, undefeated record that built an absolute global empire. He cultivated an image of total financial invincibility. I mean, you've definitely seen it on social media. Immense wealth, private jets, multi-million-dollar watch collections, the whole shebang. It was this flawless reputation, perfectly designed to make us all believe his cash flow was infinite. But outside the ring, well, the reality presented in recent court filings is frankly starkly different. We're talking about staggering figures here, like an active $7.3 million federal tax lien. That creates this massive, jarring disconnect between the untouchable billionaire persona he shows the public and the very real, severe financial crises he's navigating behind closed doors. Because, let's be honest, when the IRS is staking a claim of that size, that invincibility really starts to crack. Moving on to round two, felony charges in Las Vegas, the criminal threat. So believe it or not, this all started with a single check for $200,000. According to Clark County prosecutors, on New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2024, Mayweather wrote this check from a Wells Fargo account to Gold and Beyond, which is a Las Vegas luxury resale boutique. The purchase was for an incredibly exclusive Audemars Piguet watch. But here is exactly where the empire cracks. That $200,000 check allegedly bounced due to insufficient funds. For a guy whose entire identity revolves around immense cash wealth, a bounced check of this size is a huge anomaly. And because of that return check, prosecutors formally charged him with 2 distinct felonies. We're looking at felony theft for property valued over $100,000 and passing a check without sufficient funds with the intent to defraud. Now, to be totally fair and balanced here, his defense attorney, Adrian Lobo, strongly maintains that Mayweather had a long-standing business relationship with the shop and that there was absolutely zero intent to defraud anyone. But you guys, the stakes here go way, way beyond just financial penalties. We are literally talking about a potential loss of freedom. If he's convicted, the grand theft charge alone carries up to 20 years in prison. Plus, the check fraud charge carries an additional 1 to 4 years. This represents the absolute most severe, immediate threat to his legacy and his liberty that we've seen to date. Tracking the timeline of this dispute, it's crazy how rapidly things escalated. The check was written at the end of 2024. But he wasn't formally charged until April 2026. Then there was a preliminary hearing just recently in June, which, notably, Mayweather didn't even attend. So the stage is set. The next major showdown in this criminal case is locked in for September 17th, 2026. Okay, part 3, civil lawsuits and asset seizures surrounding litigation. Simultaneously, he's completely surrounded by civil suits all across the country. It is a literal barrage of litigation. In New York, a federal lawsuit over exhibition bouts. From a Nigerian firm, an upheld appellate court judgment. Down in Miami, you've got a jeweler accusing him of civil theft and RICO violations. Throw in a lawsuit for unpaid rent on a Manhattan luxury apartment, and a judge ordering him to pay back child support. I mean, the hits are literally coming from everywhere. And when you add up the numbers, they scale incredibly fast. CSI Entertainment is seeking $4.65 million, claiming he breached his contract by taking purse advances and then announcing a competing match in Greece. Then there's a $2.38 million upheld judgment for Zinni Media, plus a $1 million order for child support. And get this, because that Zinni Media debt remains unpaid, U.S. attorneys have actually authorized the seizure of his prized luxury assets. That means he could physically lose his Bugatti Veyron and Ferrari LaFerrari Aperta at any given moment. Which brings us to part 4, IRS liens and mounting debt, institutional strain. So, beyond the civil courts, the IRS has stepped in with a massive legal claim. If you don't know, a federal tax lien is essentially the government's way of staking a hard legal claim against your property when a tax debt goes ignored. In Mayweather's case, the IRS filed a $7.3 million lien in Las Vegas for unpaid federal back taxes spanning from 2018 all the way to 2023. This creates a completely paralyzing federal drain on his cash flow. To combat this intense financial strain, investigative reports reveal he took a pretty drastic measure. He took out a staggering $54 million loan. And get this, he took it at a punishing 9% interest rate. Anyone who has dealt with high-interest debt knows exactly how quickly that compounds into an absolute nightmare. Just look at what he had to put up as collateral: 14 different properties, his private jet, and his Las Vegas strip club girl collection. Relying on this kind of heavy, high-interest leverage is just incredibly dangerous, and reports are already indicating it's triggered foreclosures across his portfolio.
All right, part 5, Mayweather's massive counterstrikes, flipping the script.
Now, here is the crucial twist. Mayweather isn't just sitting there taking hits. He is launching an unbelievable counterattack. The contrast is absolutely striking. While promoters and firms are suing him for millions, Mayweather is actively turning around and seeking hundreds of millions of dollars from his former partners. He is totally flipping the script, going on the offensive in a historic way and transforming from the target of debt collectors into a massive plaintiff. Let's break down the sheer scale of these countersuits because it is wild. He is suing Showtime Networks and executive Steven Espinoza for $340 million, claiming they participated in an elaborate financial fraud scheme to divert his fight earnings. He's seeking another $175 million against his former investment manager for fraud and theft. And finally, he filed a $100 million defamation lawsuit against Business Insider over their reporting on his real estate deals. These legal filings include some truly shocking allegations. For instance, in his suit against his former investment manager, Mayweather claims his wealth was basically being hollowed out from the inside. Specifically, he alleges that the manager moved millions without authorization and, quote, illegally pledged $100 million of his jewelry to jewelers for just $13 million. It paints a devastating picture of a financial empire allegedly being undermined by its very own architects. Finally, Part 6, Conclusion, the Final Bell. As we watch these intense, incredibly high-stakes battles unfold, we are left with a fascinating paradox, right? The man who branded himself as money, who built an aura of absolute invincibility, is quite literally fighting the financial fight of his life. With hundreds of millions of dollars flying in all directions, prized assets targeted for seizure, and a looming criminal court date that threatens his actual freedom, we really have to ask, when the dust finally settles on all this, will the Mayweather legacy be one of undefeated triumph, or is this going to be the ultimate cautionary tale of wealth management? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and definitely keep your eyes on that September court date.